Peace and joy, guys. Welcome back to another video, Drumheller Farms. And hey, winter has come. We are grazing through this winter season-long stockpile that we've been on here for the last couple weeks, and the cattle are just getting fat off of it, guys. I gotta tell you, it's been a beautiful thing to watch these cattle come in here and pick out all this awesome, beautiful, wonderful green forage that's out here, and coming out here and seeing the the cattle so full every single day and very content. And just a light dusting of snow, but we're gonna graze right on through it. This is actually going to be our last day grazing this season log stockpile, and then we're going to be running over 2 farms over. We're going to skip a farm, go across the road to our lease farm. There's about a week to 10 days worth of cleanup over there, and we pretty much only have time to do that kind of a move on the weekends with the time change. So tomorrow, which will be Saturday, we're going to run those cattle over there. We're going to do a cleanup job. The plan is to go over there, clean that farm off. We have another farm that we'll come back to, clean that off, and then we'll come over here and finish our season-long stockpile grazing, which we should have probably another 2 weeks over here, which, if all in all goes as planned, I'm hoping that we will get to the first of the year. And I gotta tell you something, guys, huge accomplishment for us here on Drumheller Farms. Since we switched to a complete non-selective grazing, it's been amazing. I've never been able to stockpile a farm. This has been something we've needed every year, is come over here and graze this farm off. And well, with this non-selective grazing, our rotation increased so much. I mean, we're talking 70, 80, close to 90 days of rotation off of our 3 passes. All right, we only went 3 passes on all the farms. Normally we would do 5 passes, and our resting periods would be, 30, 40, the best, mid 50s in resting period. But now, doing a non-selective graze, our rotations have increased as far as our days go, and we've been able to stockpile a whole farm. And you can see we're cutting trails through this with the buggy just to put up our fences to make it easier for the cattle to see. And you can see they're pretty content. They're not hollering at us waiting to move, although they are ready to move. They're not hollering at us. So I'm a little worried what my water looks like. I didn't know it was going to get this cold last night, but either way, I'm going to put up this fence and get going after it. I appreciate you watching. Let's go. Check out the condition of these cattle as they walk by. They're doing a really good job on this. I would say they're probably 80% harvest efficiency. I don't want to take it all, because what I want to do is, after we hit those other couple farms I've explained in other videos, I want to come back here and clean this up, because we're going to feed hay on this farm. Another thing that I'm watching real closely is the manure pats. There is a lot of fiber stuff in here, and so I'm taking a really good look at their manure pats, and everybody looks really good. Nobody's stacking up. Everybody's got a really nice looking patty, so that's telling me that like this one, that's a really nice patty. And there's a bunch of seeds in there too. in all their patties there's a ton of seeds, so that's good. They're spreading some seed. Here's one that's a little stacked up. That one's a little more than I want to see, but other than that, everybody looks really, really good. Here's what I was afraid of. I'm pretty sure I got a frozen setup here. They finally destroyed their mineral bucket, and yep, we're frozen here, which means this is frozen. God darn it. Boy, I don't know, that's not good. I figured that was gonna happen. Doggone. Well, that's one more thing I got to deal with today. Again, I didn't know temperatures were going to get this cold last night. I was out here yesterday in a long sleeve shirt with no issues at all on Thanksgiving, and so it got cold last night, a lot colder than I thought it was going to get, and therefore I sat in the house and I thought, I bet you that's going to be frozen, but it is what it is, man. I'm taking this fence up. I'm not putting a back fence up. I got a back fence over there that I'm not letting them go into that far field. They've already been there, but they will have access to this. They don't seem to really be going back to it. There's enough forage in here. I'm moving them every 12 hours. Or I'm sorry, I'm moving them every 24 hours. I'm so used to moving every 12, I can't even say it right. So they're not really going back to where they've already been, and I'm just taking the back fence down. All right, well, here's what I've got. Small generator, a torpedo heater, and a 50-gallon drum I'm gonna put over this thing to capture some of that heat. I've done this before, unfortunately. I've done this before. I guess I'll just leave it at that. So I know how to do it. And sucker normally starts right up. All right, here goes nothing. All right, so then I go like this, just to kind of capture some of that heat. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Let me warm up the GoPro too. You know winter's here finally when you get a frozen water line. And you see what I had to do. Generator, torpedo heater, a large bucket over the top to capture some of that heat on that frost free. And here pretty soon we'll probably see some water running again. And that's when you know you got the heat to it long enough. We got water flowing here. Nice. Doesn't take much. I was pushing the envelope, that's all I can say. I was just barely there. It didn't need just below freezing, you know. Now last night it got a lot colder than it ever has here all winter, so just wasn't prepared, man. All right guys, this is what I should have had out here this whole time. You guys have not seen this yet on the channel. I am going to do a full video on it here one day as soon as I get all the tweaks worked out of it. This was sent to me by Russ Wilson from Wilson Cattle Company. If you have not or are not already, go take a look at Wilson Cattle Company's YouTube channel. The guy is inventive as all get out. He makes a lot of his own handles for reels, his own spools. He's just very, very inventive. So what we got going on here is a full flow valve, okay? Similar to our other bucket with the Joe Mega Flow, this is a brass valve. And before the shutoff, so before this little shutoff valve, there is a like a saddle tap valve, I call it, back when I was in the trades. And what that's doing is it's just, when this shuts off, it's still putting a little water in the tank, and what it's going to do is it's going to overflow, and it's just going to go right out there into that pasture we've already been at. See what happens. Shut that off and look, water's coming through that little saddle valve there. And when the water gets down below, of course, fills it right back up. And these guys here want to get a drink. So this system, Russ says he's had it work down to -30. And I don't think that it failed at a -30. I just don't think he's ever had temperatures go down any lower than that. He is, if I remember right, like in Pennsylvania or something like that. So another thing that Russ does on his incoming line, one, he insulates this. He puts something over it to insulate it, and then he insulates his incoming line. You know, that's my plan as well. I'm gonna do the same thing. I don't think I'll have to worry about it with temperatures that we're getting at this point, but I am gonna pick up some materials today. What he'll do is he'll insulate that coming up and around this whole thing. And I'm thinking a big glove or something to go over that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Put a big glove or something over that whole thing. And I don't know. If you guys got any ideas, let me know. And then he uses like pipe insulation and just insulates that incoming line, which mine's about I think it's a 10-foot hose I have here and a 10-foot hose I have there. So I'm working the kinks out of this thing, and then I'd like to do a full video on how this thing works and how it is working for us at the same time. Earlier I was talking about us probably making to the first of the year grazing, and all that really doesn't mean a whole lot without any context. So here's what we've got going on here. We are grazing about 110 acres of grass. That's not including our stockpile, okay? So with our stockpile, probably somewhere around 135, pushing 140. So this year we grazed about 110 acres of grass, and that's including our new lease farm that we put heifers on, all right? So just to give you some context of what we've done here is it looks like we're gonna probably graze roughly 120 to 130 head of cattle. That's kind of where our herd kind of goes back and forth from, and we're gonna do it until the first of the year on that acreage. So 130, 135 acres, 130, 120 head of cattle. And that was never possible, guys, before we started moving cattle every 12 hours. And even then, it was not possible. When we were doing the eat a third, leave a third, trample a third method, it just was impossible. Now that we're doing a complete non-selective graze, boy, I tell you, it's a game changer to this operation. I would have already been feeding hay for upwards of 2 months in any given year. Look at all the grass we've left. I don't know how well you can see that in the video, but we left a lot of grass over there that we'll be coming back for and hitting the stockpile a second time, and then we'll work our way around this thing. And once we get back to the end, we're going to start feeding hay on this farm because it rested all year, and so we're going to let the other farm rest for the winter. All right, guys, we finally have reached the top. That took a little while here, believe it or not, and it's starting to drain its way out of there. I've reached my hand down there and adjusted that thing to make sure there's a good enough flow coming through there, and it seems like there is. There's that valve. You can adjust how much water comes out. And let's get over here to our outgoing line. And you can see, guys, it's just barely trickling out of there. It's not a huge stream of water, and it's about to stop because they're all over here wanting to eat. All right, I gotta go move sheep, so that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna unload all my boo-boo stuff in here out, and then go get some sheep moved. So follow along with me for that. All right, well, I need to learn my lesson here about the frozen pipe. Realize winter's here. What does that mean? Well, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna steal a couple of these heat lamps. This is our mobile chick brooder, guys. If you are new to the channel or have not seen this setup, this is how we brood our chicks, and it works really well. We brood about 250 a month out of this thing, but these things are going to go in my well house. All right, this is our first well house, Allison's greenhouse there. Pump's on right now because we got cattle on this side of the farm. You can see what I've done here is I've got a spray foam insulation. I insulated underneath the concrete slab that I poured, and I got a big 80-gallon pressure tank in here. So what I'm going to do here is plug this thing in. Sweet. What I do is I just shine that thing down here on the main incoming water. And this is not a lot of square footage here, so I also like to put a clamp right there, guys, just for safety. You don't want that thing falling in here, and next thing you know, the unspeakable happens. All right, guys, this is our other well house. This one's a little bigger. Store a generator in here for if we ever lose power on this farm, because it is a different grid as our other farm, even though it's right down the road. Oh, and I already have a heat lamp in here. I'm gonna turn this on. Hopefully this is thawed out. Down here to where the naughty cow is. If you've been following along on the channel, her horns for some reason has become an issue. She has figured out how to take her horn and push the temporary fence around to allow others to escape. She doesn't do it. It's everybody else. And wasn't going to run the risk on all this stockpile grass of going out there and dealing with something like that. So let's see here. What do we got going on? All right, guys, well, it's coming down nicely now. It's coming down big flakes. We're supposed to be getting a few inches here, so I'm excited. I love the winter. I love the snow. It's good for business, and I just love being out in the cold. Look at this paddock here I made for the sheep. It's a little big. That's fine. They're gonna stay a couple extra days in here. They got this woods right here that's going to be a nice cover for them if it gets cold, and just a ton of nice forage right here. Look at that. Similar to what them cattle are grazing on. And that's it. That's another thing I forgot in my calculations with telling you how many head and how many acres we graze here on Drumheller Farms. I forgot to take into consideration that there's 5 acres of that is taken out for the sheep here, and another 5 acres is taken out of that for poultry production. Boy, look at that. That's a beautiful sight, isn't it? Beautiful sight. Come on. Come on. Come on, sheep. Come on, sheep. I think they're gonna find this hole here. It's gonna work out real good. Come on, sheep. Kata, kata, kata. Come on. yeah, guys, this is some nice forage. And the snow kind of just stopped. Look at that thing. Grass hanging out of its mouth. Ooh, buddy. Beautiful. They're really packing on the weight, and with forage like this, it's no surprise. All right, guys, last thing I gotta do, I gotta get in here, get this New Holland started up, and feed a bale to the bulls. This will be a little bit of a cold start here for this old gal. Let's see what happens. Oh, come on. You're kidding me, right? I don't feel like jumping this battery. All right, guys, well, I got the tractor started, and I'm gonna feed these bulls a bale of hay. And I've got a word for you guys before I leave. You know, yesterday was Thanksgiving, and we were just full, right? Everybody was full, going to bed, just can't hardly move. And my wife said something about being so full, and I thought about it, and I said, man, you know what's crazy is tomorrow we're gonna be hungry again. And sure as anything, when I woke up the next morning and walked past that counter with all those pies on it, I wanted another slice of that pecan pie, which is crazy to think about after the way I went to bed. But you know what? It had me thinking about a word here. I got a word for you guys coming from John, chapter 6. Most assuredly I say to you, seek me not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of loaves and were filled. Do not labor for food which perishes, but for food which endures everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you, because God the Father has set his seal on him. And you know, if we go down here to verse 36, I believe it is, 35, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall never hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Isn't that something to think about? You know, we eat all this food and we're hungry the next day. But man, my prayer for everybody listening to this here today is that their spirits will be filled with the everlasting bread of life that comes only through Jesus Christ. So I appreciate you guys watching the video. Hit that subscribe button. Stick around for a while if you would. Hit that like button. That gets us keep going. We're kind of getting some momentum here. We're getting subscribers, so I appreciate all you new subscribers. And God bless. Still got to take care of the egg layers. They're still on pasture. They're probably like, man, take us into the greenhouse. It's getting cold out here.